This is a short overview of how to implement QuickBooks for QuickBooks. There are 3 necessary keys for implementing properly, and each one is described in step-by-step detail on our website. First, you will check the list of necessary requirements, including hardware and software, QuickBooks versions and setup, and what you will need to do to implement QuickBooks properly. Second, you will need to choose the correct installation for your environment. Once installed, you will connect to QuickBooks, sync your data, and start using the product. Our guides are necessary for the following reasons. First, Intuit does not give any developer direct access to the database, and that includes products which call themselves raw connectors. Second, to extract the data, everyone must use the same Intuit software development kit called the SDK, created in 2001, which has stringent rules and do's and don'ts. Not utilizing these guides will lead to help desk issues, and in fact, 95% of all help desk issues are the result of not following them. If you go to our homepage at clarify.com and then go to the top menu for support, you'll see an item called Implementing QuickBooks. And this has the 3 necessary requirements to getting QuickBooks implemented. The first place to start here are the pre-install guides, and the most important one is the requirements checklist. The requirements checklist contains everything you need to know about implementing the process of getting QuickBooks up and running. The first section deals with hardware and software. The second section is all things QuickBooks, the versions required, and then we also talk about the installation and deployment, because QuickBooks has to be installed properly in order for QuickBooks to work. There is a particular document in this section that discusses 2 very important aspects of your QuickBooks implementation. One has to do with the folder permissions. The folders where your QuickBooks files are set up must have the proper permissions in order for QuickBooks to be able to access it. The second one has to do with the database server manager. That monitors your files, and that has to be correctly configured and up to date, and also monitoring the proper file area. If we go back to the requirements document, we see that there are 3 other items here highlighted in green. And these are things that you're going to do to your QuickBooks file in order to connect to QuickBooks. First one deals with data corruption. And the larger the file, the bigger the file, the older the data, the higher the probability of corruption. So most likely it's good practice to rebuild your file before you even attempt to connect to QuickBooks. The second one has to do with creating specific users to be able to automatically connect QuickBooks to QuickBooks. And we discussed these in detail for both Enterprise and Pro and Premier. And the last item in this section has to do with setting certain QuickBooks preferences that are necessary to get around shortcomings in the Intuit SDK. If we revisit our original implementation guide, we see that there are 3 steps. First was the requirements checklist, which included a discussion of the installation options and the creating of connection users and the setting of the QuickBooks preferences. The only thing not discussed in that requirements checklist is the running of the wizard, which is the final step after everything else is done. The wizard will take you through the process of connecting to QuickBooks. It would also ask you what data models you want to load and when you want to load your data. You can set up a scheduler for that process. Once the sync is complete, then you can check your logs to make sure that there are no errors. If there are errors, you can click on the link to resolve them. Most of the time, if this implementation process has been followed step by step, you will not get errors. The only remaining type of errors may be data corruption that you didn't see in a rebuild, or some unforeseen error, at which point you can just click on the button that sends to Clarify Support, and somebody will respond to you very quickly to resolve the issue. That concludes the video on how to implement QuickBooks for QuickBooks.